this computer. All right, welcome to the last meetup. Congratulations, you made it. Through almost through your first semester. You got 1, 2, 3, 5 more days technically, but you could potentially finish the final exam tonight and be done. I know some of you got a the last day of presentations is tomorrow, so some of you have that. But as an aside, the ones we've seen so far have been fantastic. I'm generally really, really pleased. So first thing I want to say is the final exam should now be available on Blackboard. So if you go into Blackboard, and on the left-hand side, I'll just pick one of these sections. Here's the final exam. So you're going to find 2 documents. So the PDF has all of the questions, and the other one, the R Markdown file. I think do I have it over here? Please tell me I have it over here. No, I'm in the wrong project. Close project. Shoot, sorry. Give me 1 second. I can do this. I have it open here, so I'll just do new text file. Okay, so the R Markdown file that you're going to download, this is what you're going to put your answers in, which looks like this. So, okay, so I have some instructions. So if you've had, you need to be able to knit to a PDF for this to work out well for you. So if you haven't already done that, or you've been, that's here. This chunk will not run by default, but you can run it interactively. Okay, so for part 1, there's 10 multiple choice. Just put A, B, C, D, whatever your answer is next to each of these. Okay. For part, oh shoot, hold on. Let me see here. I'm sorry. Let me look at did I not put that in here? Oh, no, right. We took that out. I'm sorry. Okay, right. I think I lied before. So there's actually only 2 parts. And I lost my spot. Here we go. Okay, so for part 2, we have a data set, 3 data sets, in fact. So here's data set 1, 2, and 3. So if you're working interactively, you can just, I got to save this. So final answers.rmt. Okay, you could just click this run button and you could see here are your data sets now. So there's 142 observations of 2 variables in each one. Okay. When you knit this, so you're going to do some calculations like means, medians, and what have you. And then there's this block here. I just want to point this out. So where students get hung up is if you make each of these variables your answer, you can either type a number or you can type, the output of a function. The key here is these need to be numeric and of length 1. So don't assign it an object that's complex. Otherwise, this bit here will not work. And what this will do is create a table for you with all of those answers. It does 2. I'm giving a little hint. It should help you out, but it also helps Angela and I out, or mostly me, because I think I'll probably grade the final exam. It helps me out to see it if all your answers in a table format. So do not modify this block. If you have an issue, Slack, message us or email us, and I'll try to get back to you as quickly as possible. Usually the problem is, if you're trying to do R squared and you give it the output of some other function that's just not the R squared value. So you got a couple of options. If you want to calculate things by hand, you can just change this NA to a number. That works. Or get the value from an object. And then the last bit is a couple of, interpretation questions. Okay. So that's kind of in a nutshell, the final exam. It's due by the end of the day on the 10th, Sunday, midnight. It's open book. We just ask you to work alone. No pairing up, no asking spouses or friends. Just please be your own work. And 2 parts. Yeah. And don't post this anywhere. Please, don't send it to our pubs or anything. Just put the PDF in Blackboard.
A couple of students in previous semesters had problem knitting because they use special characters. And so like it's a LaTeX error. And so if you encounter that, then look for places where you might be using special characters and then replace that with just
Yeah, you
words.
might be tempted to like look up Greek letters and copy and paste the character from the web for um, reasons I don't care to understand. LaTeX and Unicode don't often play well together. And if you don't know what that means, lucky you. Um, you may encounter it at some point, but yeah, you could
Yeah,
just write it out. So if you need to talk about mean, don't use the Greek letter mu, just type mu.
yeah, that had happened to me in one of the labs. I had used the Greek letter, so it kept telling me memory overflow. I
Yeah,
couldn't run it.
yeah. There's a way of doing it, but in LaTeX, you gotta, it's $ backslash mu $ if you want it mu. But the fact that I know that off the top of my head is not useful information. But anyways, a valuable use of brain real estate. Other questions about this? Oh, let me see. Some useful tips. Thanks, Matthew. Generally speaking, I have the number of problems or troubleshooting I've had to do with students to knit to PDF before, before this Tiny Tech package was great, and now it seems to be much reduced. I don't think anybody reached out to me this semester about did you do any PDF issues, Angela? I might not have seen it. And by the way, Tiny Tech is written by Yeehoo, the same guy who did Sharingen, and so he's did Markdown. He's he's done a lot of great stuff for the R community. All right, should be straightforward. I hope it doesn't take forever. Friday. So the last thing we're just going to talk about is we just kind of want to make you guys a little bit aware. I'll go first, then Angela can talk about some of our non-teaching work. So some of you, thank you, Tony, and there were some students from the past semesters. I gave a talk actually this semester on propensity score analysis. So this is sort of one of the sort of areas I do. I wish I could do more work. I used to do more, and I'm going to get back to doing more on this. So propensity score analysis, in short, is just it's a methodology for estimating causality from observational data. So data where we didn't randomize individuals to a treatment and control, but if you observe enough sort of background data about individuals, you can, potentially adjust for the selection bias. So, it's usually conducted in sort of two phases, broadly speaking, where in the first phase, you're trying to predict students' choice or predict somebody's placement into a treatment. And so what you do is, so a propensity score is literally just the probability of choosing to be the probability of being in the treatment. And so if you know the probability of somebody being in the treatment, you want to try to find people with similar probabilities, and then you're going to compare their outcomes on whatever you're interested in. In a lot of ways, a randomized control trial is like a propensity score analysis, except we assume everybody has a probability of being in the treatment of 50%. So we can just compare everybody in the treatment and control. So this is actually what this led me towards data science, because as I was, first of all, I did all of this work in R sort of the language of choice for doing this kind of analysis. And because the first part is trying to predict treatment, really got me to learn and understand predictive modeling more broadly, because I use a lot of the same models that you're going to use and if as a data science trying to predict whatever outcome it may be. But I've done sort of my contributions here is I've written 3 as first author the packages to do propensity score analysis in certain specific contexts. Like, so multi-level is the notion where you have individuals clustered in some other thing. So for me, I'm interested in like students who are clustered within schools, clustered within states, and et cetera, where you want to not only adjust for the differences, but those adjustments may vary across different contexts. So I know I've talked before, the difference between traditional public school students versus charter school students. Being able to cluster or make the adjustments within states is important, because different states have different laws regarding charter schools, which may impact how people choose to attend a charter school. Try-match is a package that does matching where you might have more than one group, or specifically 3 groups. So you have 2 different versions of a treatment in a control group, and you want to create like sort of matched triplets. PSA boot is what you might think. It's a bootstrapping package for propensity score analysis. And then recently I took over PSA graphics, which was originally written by my dissertation advisor, who has passed away. So I'm now the maintainer for that package, which is a bunch of tools to help you conduct analysis. These are some of the other packages that I think we talked about the Likert package a little bit when we talked about data visualization months ago. Shiny QDA is something I've been working on with a little bit with Angela, and some of our other colleagues on the DAX project actually have been using it, which is a Shiny application to do traditional qualitative data analysis. So the idea where you might highlight text and kind of code things. You can also do scoring for, on a rubric, for example, if you have a bunch of textual data and you want to do some human rating. So if anybody's interested in textual analysis, I'm starting to look into the bridge between traditional qualitative data analysis and more modern natural language processing strategies. And so anyways, BrickSet we used in this class. I think it's a fun teaching example. IRSim is for simulating inter-rater reliability. That's just, you're going to come across probably in future classes something called intra-class correlation, which is often a fit statistic for a lot of predictive models, or models that are kind of comparing the same thing. Intra-class correlation is also used a lot when you're trying to test for inter-rater reliability. So Angela and I are both giving you grades for each project presentation, and at the end of them, we confer our scores to see how reliable we are, so that, it's, are we, thinking you're in the same ballpark? Well, you should often do that systematically. And one of the ways you could do is just percent rater agreement. If 2 people are scoring the same thing, what percent of the time do they give the same score? There are more sophisticated things. Textbooks all say use intra-class correlation, but the literature is sort of scant in terms of how you interpret it. So it kind of bothered me, and I built this simulation package. And it turns out intra-class correlation is so highly correlated to percent rater agreement. I have a paper that I'm kind of revising that says just throw it away, just use the simpler metric because everybody understands it. ML- is actually something we did as an independent study with students, I think, last year. It's needs a little bit of polishing, but we built this whole framework for evaluating lots of predictive models across lots of data sets to kind of understand. I think I touched upon it last week, but and I think that, my conclusion so far is when in doubt, use random forest. But there are some other up and comings. And then some other sort of, actually, I'm going to be in the city tomorrow. We've been doing I built some Shiny apps for my colleagues in the youth study. So we have young people in New York City who have been collecting data about their community, about their, about health and education and policing and things like that. So that's actually this, oops, wrong link. I think it's this one. So I built this, I guess it's amplify data, I think. Yeah. This whole kind of Shiny application to kind of dig into the data. But then I also built a Shiny app for young people that can come in and sort of add pins to a map of assets or places of improvement. And we can come over and see all these different areas in the community. So, and this is all built with R and Shiny. So that's something else that's kind of cool. I actually had some students work on that a couple of years ago with me. And then, of course, I think at the beginning, Angela and I, you all took the self-regulated learning DAX. I think, that's Angela's technically her full-time job. It's a third of my job. And so we're very much interested in sort of college transition and helping students be successful. I think we hopefully, fingers crossed, 2 students from this class who might be working with us next semester, looking at the essays from that and applying some of the natural language processing techniques that are now available, or transformers or GPTs and things like that with those. So we use predictive modeling in 2 major ways. One is we use predictive models to score essays because they're machine scored, so students get immediate feedback. But we also use all this data to predict students' sort of quote unquote risk scores. And the notion here is if we can predict students who are at risk for attrition early, that we can provide supports to help them be successful as sort of undergraduate students. And we have a big grant that we're kind of running at the time. So now I pass the baton to Angela.
Thank you, Jason. So much of my stats work is actually driven by research, and I'll talk a little bit more about DAX in a bit, but what you see on the screen now is the work that came from my dissertation, which focuses on students' responses to feedback. And so this is a model I created based on literature that I read on the related topic. And so we are actually using this model to frame one of our mini projects on DAX, where we examine students' essays to see how, as a proxy for how students are responding to the DAX feedback that we've created and cultivated. And so those are the essays that the two students will be working on, I think, right, related to natural language processing. And so, yeah, so this, I mean, you can see that yeah, that's fine. So in terms of exploring responses to feedback index, these are some of the research questions that are relevant. And there are so many others, but some of the ones that we've started to dabble into are related to sentiments, right? The emotions, what emotions are elicited by the feedback as indicated in the students' essays, and what judgments are they making about the feedback. So actually, as we're going through reading, actually reading the essays, we see that the students are saying this is accurate. I don't like what it's telling me, but this is accurate, or nope, this is not accurate. This is incorrect. I didn't take it seriously, so this is not a good representation of who I really am as a learner. So things like that come up in these essays. And then how they interpret these SRL concepts are also embedded within these essays, the attributions they make. I got this score because, right? And then strategies, one of the prompts for the writing assessment is to talk about what strategies that are recommended in DAX feedback are you going to commit to? And so that's one of the questions that we also ask as a research question. And then dots, we use dots, and that has maybe perhaps we've seen some evidence that dots might not actually be good. And so we are talking about if they are detrimental to students who do get 1 dots, right? Are students triggered negatively by that? And should we actually not have dots, right? And if not, then what, if any, would replace these dots? But for now, dots is another type of feedback that we're providing to students, sort of like an overall sense of how they did. And then, so this is just a brief.
Sorry, I couldn't remember what the next slide was.
And so I am actually looking forward to looking at these essays in a more sort of topic modeling, natural language processing perspective, right? I don't know that field well, but I've been wanting to and reading about it. And so I want to actually start to dabble into that next semester. All right, I'm done.
Okay, cool. So here's all of our contact information. So if you want to reach out sometime in the future, great. Look for Anna usually sends emails. I try to do 1 talk a semester on some kind of topic. So I think I'm doing one at UAlbany in the spring semester on an introduction to predictive modeling, which is probably going to be, I'm going to steal a lot of material that I use in this class, might not be relevant, but I'm thinking about, I mean, if you have ideas of things you would like to hear us talk about, let us know. I was thinking about doing one on like creating a sort of a portfolio website with some of the tools in R, and GitHub as a place to host, like a personal, either a CV website. I mean, I can show you, like, so I keep it's not necessarily up to date, but I have a CV site That's our markdown. My personal site is you know, our markdown hosted on GitHub. These are all free ways to do that. Then Ron, I'll get to your question 1 second. Just oops, that's for tomorrow. The last thing I want to point out is if you go to the course website, if you haven't made your way over to GitHub and you don't have, first of all, you should have a GitHub account by now. Make yourself a GitHub account. It's probably, if you're going to be on the job market, I would start thinking about like your data project, maybe cleaning it up or, you know, doing something, put it on GitHub that you could start building a portfolio, building a website. So I wouldn't do this today. I would wait till like next week or so. If you want a copy of all the course material, including the website, all the slides, all the course data that we might have used, if you go into GitHub, you can do a couple of things. You can clone it, or you can just go here in the code, you can download a zip file and you're going to have all the course materials as for your reference for future use. So if you find it useful, you might find it useful or you think, well, I can't remember how this worked. You could do that. So I like to point that out for students. All right, questions. I'll start with Ron, who I think it was Ron who's
that actually answered my, I was going to ask if there's any way for us to access the course materials after the semester ends. So thank you.
Yep. So that's so and this site will stay up for, you know, I can't say forever, but unless GitHub, you know, which is now owned by Microsoft, but for GitHub somehow goes away or, you know, might go away. But this URL will still be available. If you've been using just data 606, it's actually a redirect. So somewhere around New Year, I will create a new copy of the course starting from scratch. So we'll start redirecting to a spring 2024. So, you know, but anyways, you could bookmark this. It'll probably stay up. But like I said, you can download it. And if you look through it, there's a build script and a host script. You can, you know, start figuring, you can see how I build the whole website, which might be idiosyncratic to me at this point or sort of, but it works for me because a lot of the course site is driven by a spreadsheet with dates and assignments and things like that. But anyways, I digress. Oh, that's what I was going to say. For other courses, like if you're in 607, I recommend getting whatever you need from Blackboard because CUNY is very weird in that as soon as probably somewhere around the 22nd, I think, you'll just lose access to that course. So if there's something in there, you might want to do it. But at least for this course, you can get it anytime. And we've complained to CUNY, but we also complain that you don't get access to the course until the first day. If we feel like you should have it at least a few days before, but keeps falling on deaf ears. Yeah, Ron, you got something else?
Follow-up, when would be the last day for us to be able to access course materials on Blackboard? You know?
On Blackboard, let me see here. I don't know exactly, but we can figure it out. So we are in fall 23. I would guess the 20th.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to guess the 20th. Yeah, Ferris?
Yeah, hi, Jason. So speaking of when you mentioned if there's any other topics that we're interested in to make a talk around it. So I'm actually really interested in systematic reviews meta-analyses, particularly if there's a need for meta-regression within the meta-analysis. So I've been using Stata for that actually for years, but if there's a way to use, I'm sure there's a lot of packages for R in that, but if there's a way that you could give a talk around it, I think that would be really interesting.
So meta-analysis, I'll make a note. I would not be the person to do it. I don't, but let me see if I can find someone or find some resources. Reason being is I don't, I'm highly skeptical of meta-analyses because there's an inherent bias because journals tend to only publish significant results and they don't publish the null results. And so that's a major issue. And I don't know if any of the fields have figured out how to deal with that. Well, actually, I know NIH has. They make you pre-register all your, and actually for our grant, we had to do that. Department of Ed is now doing that. So a lot of federal agencies require pre-registration, which means if you're doing a meta-analysis, you can go find studies that were being conducted and actually get the results.
Mariola might be a good person to,
Yeah, she would be great.
so we can reach out and see.
Maybe we can do a kind of crossover. She can give it at UAlbany, but maybe she'll let me stream it. Yeah, that's a great
That'd be-
idea.
Yeah, that'd be great. And regarding the publication bias issues, there's now several journals that do. They're even called negative findings journals, or like absence of findings journals, non-significant findings journals. So
Yeah.
that's another way of going around the publication.
I mean, it looks kind of quiet in here tonight.
Oh, I'm gonna mute them. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's great. I might actually, because we're trying to get a paper published that has a null result in our primary research question, and I think it's a bit of a challenge. We're on the third journal now. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Sure, James.
It's not about this class. So, I'm trying, I'm trying to register for class next semester, and I don't know exactly what's every class that you need to take toward the program. So I had messaged Anne Mary,
Yeah.
but then she had told me to take either 602 or 605. Either one
Yeah,
of
that sounds about right. Let me go back here to find the landing page. Where is the course? I always have to look, and we actually, here it is, full curriculum. Yeah, what did they do? They changed this like within the last day or two. Oh, now I'm disoriented. Major requirements. Okay. Oh, here it is. They reformatted. Okay. So yeah, so she said, which one? 605, 602?
She said either 602 or 605. So that means I need both of them, right?
Well, do you want to take one or two classes?
This semester I took one, but next semester I'm gonna try to aim for two.
Okay.
But,
So I would probably do 602 if I were you.
and
Just as a heads up,
607.
we have a change going through, a curriculum change going through the it was actually approved at the governing council, and I'm not sure what's you're gonna have a choice. So you guys have already been admitted, so you can follow this course plan, but we have switched 605 I think it's 605 is going to become an elective, and 624 is going to become a required course. So you'll
start that in the spring. Can we start? Like, I would rather take predictive analytics than computational mathematics.
Yeah, talk to Anna. I think you can. You guys should have a choice between whether or not you want to stick with you can be grandfathered into the current curriculum map, or you can choose to go to the new one. So if you haven't taken 605, and I know Tony, you've been open about your I don't know what the right adjective I want to use here about your feelings about mathematics have been made clear, I think, to everyone. So if that's 605 is one you want to avoid, you could probably avoid it now. Ron, I don't know, eventually this site will be updated. Email Anna or Arthur. There's a slide deck going around that has the new possibility, the new curriculum. Like I said, it's only a swap. One's going to become an elective. We're swapping an elective and a required course.
So which classes are swapping one more time? 605 and
624. Please don't. There's a possibility I got that wrong on the 605, but I think it's 605 and 624.
Thank you.
Jason, and I should say this. I'm pretty certain 624 is becoming the required course, and I think it's replacing 605. But Anna will know. She will be the definitive person to tell you.
Anna
So-
Marie
so-
Machado,
Anna,
right?
yeah, Anne Marie Machado.
Thank you.
Anna Machado. Yeah.
So if you already registered, so will you have the option of change it or stick to it?
Yeah, you could change up to like, the first day of classes, really.
So will you recommend 624 or 605 if you had the option?
So 605 is Python based. It's taught by Larry, typically, who you might have had if you were in the Bridge workshop this past summer. And it's I mean, I think it's a good class. It's a lot of matrix stuff and sort of the mathematics behind how a lot of these predictive models work. Oh, you're using R in 605? Gabriel,
Yeah.
who's the who's doing 605 for you this semester? Is it Larry?
Lawrence Fulton.
Yeah. Yeah, Fulton.
And he's using R now.
It's R
Okay.
instead of Python.
Okay, interesting.
Oh yeah, he uses R. Larry uses
Yeah.
Python. I mean
Okay.
R.
R. I thought he was
He
using
used
Python.
Python for the bridge course, but the Python bridge of course. But yeah, he uses 605 R for 605.
Okay. Well, I stand corrected. It's been a while since I've looked at that course in detail. Again, you're making me uncomfortable. I'm starting to talk out of turn. These are sort of Anna questions. And actually, you can email and ask her for the syllabi for any of the courses you want. Anything else?
Professor, I
Yep.
actually do have a question also kind of related to outside of the class, but do you potentially have any resources for building those GitHub-based website scripts?
The
Or
website.
scripts?
So yeah, I mean, you could look at, there's a couple of options. So Blogdown is what I have been using. So
Okay.
yeah, you could, and here's Yehu yet again. He wrote the Blogdown. So Blogdown is what I use for this course in my personal site. Then you have Bookdown, also written by you. So an example of, so I should say Blogdown uses Hugo in the back end. Hugo is sort of a static web generator. So if you do a Hugo templates, yeah, so this is a place I often go, and I'll find templates. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Hugo themes. I'm sorry. So you can go so here's a website, you can, get these. And if you go through the site, you can easily import one of those. So Bookdown is more like this, where you're going to have like a table of contents and, you're writing more of a book style. This is also R Markdown, and it also is hosted on Blogdown. So I think that Bookdown is a great place to start, but I think a lot of people now, particularly if you're going to use, well, these are both good because R Markdown can do Python. But Quarto is sort of the new game in town. So, so here's a reference if you want to do in Quarto. Quarto looks an awful lot like R Markdown, but it is language agnostic, meaning you, even if you only want to do Python and R Markdown, you need to have R available to, to knit that document. Quarto looks a lot like R Markdown in terms of syntax, but its sort of building is not built in R. It's built in another language. So if you're only doing Python, Quarto would be, like I said, it's language agnostic. So you can use Python or R or SQL or, shell scripts or whatever language you want. Julia, I think it supports. Anyway, so this would be a site. And so you can do websites and presentations, all the stuff you can do with R Markdown.
Wow.
It's just not as mature yet. It's rapidly getting better, but I don't think quite as mature as the R Markdown tool sets.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'm going to say it's been an absolute pleasure this semester. I think this has been a great group, and I said, by looking at the length of the meetups, they've gone longer. My wife has even noticed that they've gone longer, and that's a testament to your engagement and interest and questions. They've been great. So Thank you for that. I do like that. Appreciate it.
Oh, I just have a question. So I know you guys mentioned that you have 2 students who's gonna be working with you guys next semester. What exactly will they be doing?
We're still figuring out working with essays and text data and textual and natural language processing stuff.
Well,
But
okay.
keep an ear out. We fairly regularly put out requests. It's like, hey, we have this thing we want to work on. Would you like to do an independent study? If you're interested in DAX in particular, or DAX related data, that's often where we're spending a lot of our time. We've actually even had students who don't, if you don't want to do an independent study, we've had 1 or 2 students who've used DAX data as part of their capstone project, which is something we can work out. So, whenever you get to that place.
Thanks.
Yep. Who is it? Farhana next, and then Fulu.
I just wanted to, hi, Professor, I just wanted to thank you for the class, and I just wanted to let you know I did send an email, but just in case you both are busy, but I did not, I think I did not put my full abstract in the presentation yesterday, so that's why I submitted my final in the Blackboard. So
Okay.
just want to give you a heads up on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I haven't been on email in a bit, so I didn't see it if it came in today.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Yep. Fulu.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could share that link with the curriculum with us.
Sure. It's let me get to it. There you go. It's in the chat. All right. Well, have a fantastic holiday, whatever you celebrate, whether it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Festivus, whatever. Enjoy. And good luck with the rest of the program.
We will see many of you tomorrow.
Yes, we'll see. Yeah, there's a lot tomorrow. So it's not really final goodbye, but this is our official goodbye.
Oh, before
We're
we
not
go,
doing anything next week. No class next week.
No class next week. This is the end.
Oh, that sucks.
Great, though.
Yeah, you get your Wednesday night back for a while.
I'm going dancing, so that'll be nice.
What kind of dance?
My
Swing,
Wednesday
right?
still belongs to 605 for now.
What's that?
My Wednesday still belongs to 605 for now.
Oh, do you have see going to next week?
Oh wait, no, 607 is what I meant. My bad.
607. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
Oh my God. I have
thought-
never worked so hard on a thing in my life as the 607 class.
Oh, really?
Oh
It's
yeah, there
ridiculous.
have been some long ones.
All right,
Pretty
I'm gonna
nice
stop the
I'm trying
recording.
to make it